All right, good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 10th, 7:02 PM, and I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Wellington Capital Improvement Program Committee to order. Members present are myself, James Marshall, Jeremy Brothers, Stu Cobb. In the room and online, we have Jennifer McCoo, Christina Milos, Melissa McKinnon, and Peter Bacon. We have a quorum, so we'll start things up. First up is present to speak. There's nobody in the room, so if there's anybody online, I see one other name. Ralph, anything? You're the only one. If not, we'll catch you at the end of the meeting.
Not at the moment,
All right.
but thank you for recognizing me.
I'd like to move that we add the joint meeting minutes from Thursday, September 4th, 2025, as item 3B on the agenda.
Can I get vote on them separately?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Can I get a second? So that we
Second. Sorry.
All right. Good. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be really upset about that. We're gonna do that again in 1 second. All right, because I failed to start our recording secretary's recorder here. We're gonna redo that last one again. So we've called the meeting to order at 7:02 PM. Members present were Jennifer McCoo, Christina Milos, Melissa McKinnon, Peter Bacon, James Marshall, Stu Cobb, and Jeremy Brothers. Nobody was present to speak, so I just made a motion to add as item 3B to the agenda today, approval of the minutes, the joint meeting minutes from September 4th, 2025 with the Wellington Board of Education, Board of Selectmen, and Board of Finance.
Oh, second.
Seconded by Stu Cobb. Thank you very much. All those in favor to add that to the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Abstentions? All right, so moved. All right, first up, approval of minutes from June 11th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve?
No, I'll make that.
Thank you. I'll second it. Any discussion? You guys just shout out online. Sometimes I don't look up to the screen for raised hand. All right, hearing no discussion. All those in favor of approving the minutes from, I already lost it, June 11th, 2025. Say aye.
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 All those opposed? And abstention?
Yep,
Jeremy Brothers abstained.
I did not, wasn't here and I did not read it.
No worries. I go back a bit, but thank you again, Lisa, for the quality work as always. Next up, you'll have them, I think. The big stack, couple deep in your packet. Approval of the minutes from the joint meeting on Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. Discussion. I admittedly only, they're 10 pages. But good discussion. I didn't catch anything overly dramatic that needed to be flagged, so.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Okay, great.
Yes, I actually don't know who put those together. I assume it was Brenda, Bill's office, but good job, whoever did. All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes of September 4th, 2025. Vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve by saying
Aye.
aye. Any abstention? Any opposed? All right, carried unanimously. All right, let me find the right page of my stack of paper. Moving on to new business. First up, town clerk request for committee members' information. I had sent this via email. We got a request from the clerk's office. Basically for a list of updated contact information, names, emails, phone numbers, and addresses from each of you, largely so that when reappointments come, they have ways of contacting people for the necessary appointment paperwork. Jen, thank you for sending that along. If everybody can either hand it to me, just whatever your most current contact information is, and also just to make sure that I have it as well, so that we can keep things rolling smoothly moving forward as we start next year's budget season already. Please try to do that by the end of the week if you can, so that I can kind of ship that off to them and have it and close the loop. I would appreciate it. Next up is item 4B, 2025-2026 schedule coordination. So in your packet and sent along via email, there was a draft of our meetings scheduled through the end of the year and some other important dates nestled in.
Seems like you froze.
Good, Ralph. I thought it was just me.
No, it wasn't you, Jen.
Hmm.
Our IT department needs some help.
I wonder who our IT department consists of.
We don't have.
All right, we're back. Sorry, I think we lost internet here. Can everybody hear us in the room?
Yes.
Yep.
Jen, can you hear us?
Oh.
Mr. Chairman, two people
Can anybody hear us?
You froze again.
Oh my God.
Oh, moving right along.
You can hear Ralph.
Sorry,
Jim, can you hear us?
You have
We can
intermittent
hear you
connection,
now.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. We just got it dropped we apparently lost our internet connection here in the room, and just got a notice saying the internet is unstable, which is probably not a surprise to anybody who attends these meetings regularly. You guys can hear us okay though? Now? All right,
Yeah.
excellent.
One comment, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Christina and Peter Bacon and Melissa McKinnon should display as muted when you did some of those previous motions. So I find it questionable that you can declare unanimous unless you can hear something we can't hear.
I unmuted for every one of those votes and voted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did too.
I didn't see it happen though. I haven't heard Peter Bacon's voice.
Hmm.
Peter.
I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just trying to dot the i's.
I appreciate the input, Ralph. Peter, can we hear you? I don't think we have Peter live and in action, so Peter is a no vote. I guess, I don't technically know what the rule is on that. Whether it's an abstention or.
More abstention than a no.
I think it's a technical concern. I'll make sure that we check that and capture it accurately in the minutes. But thank you for raising it, Ralph. All right, now that we're back in the room, the internet's back. Schedule moving forward. I have confirmation from the Senior Center, the Library, Public Works, and the Selectman's Office, and I got confirmation from the fire departments that these dates work for them. Before I sent the final confirmations, I wanted to make sure everybody had the ability, or see if there were any concerns with any of the dates in question that really caused a red flag. I did check the office calendar, the town calendar, and didn't see anything on there. So We're trying to work them around our meetings as best as possible, but I think it's really important, especially since we have a number of new members, to get out there and really
Yeah,
see.
the only issue I got is September 24th, it's a personal thing, I already, the last Monday of the month is bad for me, so
Okay.
really bad, it's just a personal thing, so.
If we have to, I'm sure they'll both be very accommodating to get people in outside of that as well.
Yeah. That's the only one I can throw a red flag at, so.
For the 17th, that's next Wednesday for the fire departments. They said anytime after 5 o'clock is okay. I've generally tried to keep these at 6 or 7 PM. Just to give people the ability to get home and then out the door again. I don't
have
want
a little bit of daylight.
and I don't want to push them back too late because then we're gonna lose the daylight, so, does. Go ahead.
Do you, do we have a format or a template or something that we're using to kind of guide these visits? I just want to make sure if there, I mean, I'm assuming we'll talk about capital projects if there are any. I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, so the intent with these really, Jen, is to kind of familiarize the committee with the current state of the facilities, have the opportunity for the various departments to discuss any active current requests or potentially up and coming requests. These aren't like the formal full interviews that we do to evaluate projects during the season. But I will send out, these will obviously have their own agendas, and I'll send out something in advance. Because they'll all be called a special meeting.
Visits that I have gone to in the past have turned into that, like kind of vetting projects and things like that, which I'm not sure that we're prepared to do at that point. So I just wanted to make sure we had the same purpose going in there.
No, it's not a deep vet, it's just status of current, it's to get an understanding of where the projects we most recently approved are, the current state of the buildings. It gives them the ability to show everybody here some of the concerns that they think they're having. As a precursor to the formal requests and discussion, so that'll come at a later date. You'll also see in on here, we're trying to push as discussed 3 months ago now. We're looking to push the submission schedule window up this year, or earlier than it was last year. Opening during November 12th and closing in early December. So we'll have first looks in advance of the Christmas break, and then my anticipation is January and February, we'll be scheduling all those. We'll be having the various departments in to discuss their projects in more detail. That make some semblance of sense, everybody? And sorry, back to the point, for the September 17th meeting, do we have a preference for 6 o'clock? They have a tendency to have, we have 2 locations and potentially a third.
For what's that, the fire
The
department?
fire departments, I don't know how much Station 13 has changed, but
Well, I never
we've
saw
never
it,
seen it,
so
so
I
yeah,
would like to, so, if I could.
it is fully clear, right? There's nothing contaminant in there, it's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there. We have not done an air test lately, so. We'll open the doors and
Yeah.
ventilate the place out.
Let's target 6 o'clock then. Just to make sure that we have time before we lose the light.
And you want, which station
I
you want
think,
to start at?
yeah, I was gonna say, if we could start with that one, because I think that's probably the
Yeah.
most,
Yeah, we can start.
the other place, I'll confirm, it wouldn't seem pretty lit up anyway.
Yeah, they're occupied.
And they're occupied, yeah, so.
So I'll confirm that with the chiefs and the both departments and see what their preference is.
Okay.
And then the arrival or the starting point will be listed in the meeting minutes, the meeting agenda
Okay, perfect.
for the stores. Any other comments before we move on? All right, hearing none. Thank you, everybody. We'll look at next year's calendar sometime, probably in our November and December meetings. setting those
For
dates
January,
for
February.
2026.
Yeah.
We have to approve that calendar, the start of every season. All right, next up. Item 4C, Board of Education joint meeting. I just wanted to give everybody, it's carried as an agenda item, just as an opportunity for follow-up discussion. I know most of us were at that meeting before. It was a good conversation, a very good conversation, I think. But yeah, there wasn't too much aftermath of that. I don't have any action steps, dictated by the board, dictated or suggested by the Board of Ed yet, that CIP can assist with, but I know moving forward, we're gonna endeavor to be as, that's what I'm looking for. We'll all play in the sandbox well and work together as a community to try to figure out the best solution forward.
I mean, there's certainly a preferred timeline and some deadlines that are gonna come up really quick on that. That.
Yeah, the big,
would endeavor to be.
You try to let Peter in, just rejoin. Thank you.
thank you.
Sorry.
All right. Peter Bacon, I'm going to try this. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome.
I heard everything from before too. I give thumbs up on everything.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you were able to sort it out. All right, so yeah, the big items on that, and just to kind of flag it for everybody's attention as we, it's still early, but the schedule on that obviously is earlier than what we captured in the plan that was most recently approved by the town. Likely targeting a June, end of June 2026 for referendum and potential funding commitments, which is 2 years earlier than what we were carried as placeholders. So that, along with the status of the fire station projects, whatever they are, hopefully we'll see some update, are gonna be the big drivers of this plan and what the outlook looks like moving forward. A lot more, we're not gonna go too deep into it now because a lot more detail will come out, I'm sure, as the new school building committee is formed, but just be aware it's on the radar. I'm hopeful we're not too far off target with at least the values we were holding. I'm hoping we can do better than them, but we'll see where we go from here. Any other thoughts? How did we feel? Anything?
I thought it was a good joint meeting with everybody. I mean, there's some decent information in there and hopefully we get something there.
And I will say thanks to Brianna for doing a good job hosting the entire, Brianna Ross from the Board of Ed. Really managing all the boards and the room full of people, and for Phil for setting that up. So thank you, gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen, for making that run so effectively. And I'll just state this here, whatever we can do to help. I think we can all try to do. And we're happy to help any way we can.
I appreciate that. And in our Board of Ed meeting last night, I'll reiterate what I said at the end. It was really great to have that collaboration for one of the first times that I've ever known. I've not been here a long time, but one of the first times I've seen boards collaborate and work together, and it was good. I hope it's the start of something beautiful.
Yeah, and I honestly hope we can see more of it. I'm sure there will be more opportunities over the coming months as whatever these projects become, that development progresses, so.
Looking at the big spreadsheet, I just want a confirmation that lines 12 and 13. Those were the two numbers we had set aside for potential school project.
No, 12 and 13 are the fire department,
8 and 9.
8 and 9 are the board of ed.
Uh,
8 and
oh, there you go.
right here,
But-
red.
Okay.
So we had flagged that as the first year of the bond hitting in fiscal year 29.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's a no payment.
Oh, yeah.
During the development
Right, I'm
project,
sorry.
but we had anticipated the bond hitting in 2029 and so it's potentially move forward to capitalize on that legislation, which I'm hoping also helps with that. So time will tell.
That was guessing as a town expense of about 26 million. That'd be, if you have those two numbers together.
Well, that's it would be 2 different projects. One was right?
Yeah, so, and that's based on best available information, which was kind of dated, when we had this, right? We don't have an updated budget number from the fire departments. We have the placeholder of 15 million, and assumed that was sitting in 2028 as a bond. I am fully confident, I know they've progressed quite a bit, that we'll have something by way of update and hopefully a better projection as to what projects they're anticipating, heading into this next request season. The Board of Ed school project, that was from our presentation, that was the best available information we had at the time when this was developed, you know, in April. I think the latest numbers was from October, from work that QAM, the Board of Ed's consultant, had pulled together, and we approximated something as a placeholder, knowing that there was some significant project happening and hopeful at a higher reimbursement rate, so. The reality is this season is going to flesh those out in more detail, so they'll be the big drivers of what else fits around them.
Okay.
And what the funding capacity becomes, so. Those will be the big drivers, guys, it's gonna be a fun one. Any further comments? Otherwise, let's just review some updates since in the 3 months since our last meeting. All right, moving on. And a 4D, CIP plan project updates. Looking at this, I know as of town meeting, I forget when that was on the 3rd. The mower that we had for Public Works got approved by the voters, as did the toilet room door operators for the senior center. Those were approved at town meeting. So those projects will start to kick off, which is good. That's Rose, sorry, I should be saying Rose for those.
Yeah, just
The mower was row 31. 103,150.
that was one lump sum, right?
Yeah, that came from capital reserve.
Yeah.
So. And then line 65, toilet room door operators, senior center, that was covered by low SIP, so both those projects are advancing and hopefully we'll be able to close those out. When we really evaluate these and get updates from both departments later on this season. You have a couple of emails in your packet.
Actually, can I update line 15, the ambulance?
Absolutely.
It's the one down to Florida, they remounted the box on a new chassis, it's back in state right now. It has to go to the radio vendor, the big project, but this doesn't mean if that's scheduled with them, get the radios done, then it has to be inspected by the state. So, but surely that newfangled ambulance should be up and running.
And that lease is likely to hit this year still.
Yes, I mean, they already started the lease because we had to pay for the chassis when it was delivered to the vendor that was working on it.
Okay. So no change, but I'm glad that's moving forward. All right, back to emails. We have some updates. Who's first in our packets here? Library, thank you. So. There were two of note. I have multiple copies of stuff in my packet, sorry, give me 1 second.
That's two word, this is the bidding one.
There we go. All right, yes, so available on the, we'll start with the bidding one. That project was the gutters at the library, which has been hanging on the plan for several years now. That, if you go to the town's website, has been posted, for bid. So they do have, I don't know where that stands, it only happened, I think, a week ago. But that is out there and moving forward, which is great, that is, I forget what road that is. That's actually row 47 from last year. Carryover from last year, related to the other important note that I just kind of wanted to flag and is other.
That's just as gutter, oh yeah.
So, not to, I don't want to put the library director. I don't know, it's an important note, he did say, he voiced a bit of frustration in this communication with just the ability to move, potential projects and RFPs along. Largely because we rely on, a single consulting engineer really to assist the town. It's unfortunate, but it's also part of the reason why the gutters hang out for so long, because it takes some time for those, for these volunteer boards to get to the point, in a cost-effective manner to bid these projects out. I mention it because it continues the ongoing discussion that the town really could use somebody to assist. Like a facilities manager, but also we have to start thinking about how to kind of broaden there's gotta be some discussion with the Board of Selectmen about finding ways to broaden the potential professional assistance pool. That some of these departments can work towards, so that we can actually move these projects along a little bit more expeditiously, and I think it would help.
I think especially the library has learned a lot in the last couple of years. And I know it's good that they now have a director in place as well to kind of help oversee that.
Yeah.
That as well. So they've learned a lot in terms of what projects belong in CIP, which ones don't, which ones are important, which ones aren't. And I commend them for starting out the expenses as best they can over multiple years, so we don't get hit with a big bill all at once.
Yeah, they are working through it. I mean, there will be interim repairs. This isn't gonna predict everything. More emergent situations do come up and we will address them. Hopefully with the ability to buffer hits via reserve funds, or other avenues for paying them, but
Or to include that in your ongoing operating budget, that if you know you have something coming up, especially if it's under 10,000.
Yeah.
That expected, present that to the Board of Finance. For what you need as well.
yeah, and actually there are 2 projects like that for the library. That he came to after our plan was approved. This most recently, one was the computers, yeah, that was approved by the Board of Finance, and I believe the town meeting. Funds to replace some of their computers, but they did not go for there was a second project for phone system upgrades. That they didn't entertain, I don't think they took it to the Board of Finance directly, so that'll be something that we're gonna see in the project coming up this year. But it's good they're familiar with the process now and we're able to help them, assist however we can in finding the right people and the right procedures to get these advanced, so. Senior Center. Have also come pretty well into the fold, which is great. They are working to, better understand the process and engage more, for planning projects. I did get you have an email in your packet with a number of items. that have come up, and quite frankly, it's been a month since I've read this, so give me 1 second. We can discuss these at the tours. We talked about the handicap bathroom door operators. So new one that hasn't come up is, a number of these seem fairly emergent. So including a deck replacement. Foundation stucco repair, similar, I'm sure similar to what was happening at the library. And, a warmer and freezer unit in the kitchen that needs replacement because it's failed. So I advise, particularly on item number 1, that they, and kind of sent this over to the Board of Finance, to the chair of the Board of Finance, just call to his attention, because if it's an urgent request, it's gonna happen before it's gonna need funding, particularly the potential code-related item on the deck as an egress item.
I did have, some conversations with Judy Campbell.
Yeah.
From the, senior citizens group about that. Apparently the rear deck, is both structurally unsound and the boards are rotting on the top. Enough that they don't dare put anybody out there. However, going up the rear deck as a secondary means of egress, constantly being able to go out on that deck. And so that's where some of the fire code stuff comes in. I know she's worked very hard to try to get the fire marshal and or building inspector up there and put in writing what's wrong. Generally, all the committees love to see something from the official expert saying, yes, this needs to be totally replaced or not, or whatever it may be, and is it a code violation or not? And that would help them bolster their case if they could have some of this evidence, so to speak, and we'll see that in the walk around.
Yeah. But it is, I guess an advantageous effect of this is that while this is an emergent project that may not have needed to be an emergent project, I'm hoping that now that they really kind of were much more communicative at the end of last budget season. And I'm hoping that this starts, so we can start to identify things like this earlier, so that, again, we can plan for them and potentially access LoCIP funds or other funding avenues, rather than have this just be a direct request to the Board of Finance and the general fund it, so.
Do you
I don't know who that was, so whoever it was, feel free.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand. Oh, raise hand. Sorry. Has Judy, do you know, reached out to Pete Tanaka about the concerns, the structural stuff?
Well, you all have this email, so Pete should have it as well. I don't know whether she's reached out directly to him.
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the CC, so it's CC to him.
Well, I sent it to all of you, so Pete has it. And I do believe. I might have clicked it on you.
There's several concerns about the senior center. To me, that's a giant big deal and needs to be figured out ASAP.
I agree. I did put her in touch with the Board of Finance. And I haven't checked for an update, but we'll get one in a week or two, when we're out there. And we can kind of flag it for her. Hopefully she's moved it along. But we can't really advance their process for them. All we can do is point them in the right direction.
I'm not suggesting that we are that venue. I just want to make sure. I think it's worth asking the question. That's all I'm saying.
I would be happy to do so.
I
Mr.
don't
Chairman.
mind doing it either. I just don't want it to languish, I guess is what I'm saying.
Understood. Yep. Well, that's why I was glad to get the update and have it be brought to this committee's attention. The 3 other items on here are all items I think we're tracking already, and those would stay.
You've got a Ralph hands up as well.
Yeah, we're a small group here. Ralph, something to add?
I want to speak to the deck behind the senior center. Troy and I went out and examined that last Wednesday, the 3rd.
Do me a favor, just identify yourself for.
Oh, yeah,
Correct.
Ralph Tillis, 47 Village Hill Road.
I know we know each other, but
I went out there as a structural engineer to evaluate the concerns about the deck. And quite frankly, most of the concerns are more related to ADA than they are structural. There are some improvements that can be made to that structure to extend its lifespan. There are no serious structural issues at this time. The ramp has issues because they took down the handrail. There is no kickboard down the left side to prevent a wheelchair or wheel from hitting the rail posts. So that needs to be fixed. But it's in no danger of collapse, not at this point. It's not pulling away from the foundation, as was mentioned in some previous correspondence. I think it's more a variation in the thickness of the stucco that makes the ledger appear to be pulling away from the wall. I saw no issues, but I am going to write a letter and provide some sketches for some enhancements. But I think that overall the deck's in reasonably good shape considering its age.
excellent. Who did you say was out there? It was yourself, and did you say Troy?
Public Works, yeah, Troy. As well as Karen.
Excellent.
So I don't, it's not a disaster waiting to happen, but certainly the ADA issues should be addressed as soon as possible. So that we can reclaim our emergency exit from the building.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad to hear it seems to be advancing.
Okay, thank you for letting me offer that input.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the update, Rob. And thanks for looking into it. Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Okay, thanks. So what is the estimated cost if it's not, all what is listed here? For like what maybe Ralph would have more of a estimate since, he's been out there to see it. I mean, would it be? Or,
I can provide a list of things that should be done. I'm not really in a good position to offer pricing on that. Certainly far less than a replacement deck.
Yeah, I just want to be careful of kind of getting ahead of their process as well on our end and projecting. It does sound like it's heading in a more manageable or positive direction. But their cost, this isn't even submitted officially as a project yet, right? So if it's something that has to be more urgent, they'll wind up having to fund this. They'll have to get estimates for the Board of Finance directly. If this becomes a project that is looking for CIP capture, then we will be the ones fielding all of them. And it sounds like maybe it's not as imminent, and maybe it is a CIP item that we can look into at a later date. But we'll I think, as I get more information, Melissa, on any of this, and everyone, I will share that it comes in.
so what would happen if, saying it's a fire code compliance violation, what, technically could happen? Would the town get in trouble for that if it's not fixed, or since it is the second egress?
I'll pipe up on some of that. Worst case is they shut the building down.
Yeah.
That said, okay, you don't have the secondary means of egress. If their repairs are, minor, not likely to collapse, and there's some improvements to meet some of the physical code requirements that they could do in a timely manner. I said, put the railing back up, put the kickboard back down, they have to replace some of the top deck or whatever the scope would be, but they are very concerned and vocal about getting that fixed. And they have been working with I got a text message from Judy Campbell today. And they have some other issues of the heat pumps not working, hasn't been working since the springtime. And they're talking about official complaints to the fire marshal and ADA compliance, involving Connecticut Housing, Con OSHA, the ADA coordinator, the state, so on, so. It's certainly on their radar now, and, but I think clarification of having the engineer, and public works out there to guide along what the scope of the project is. I know they've gotten a price from the contractor, who said rip the whole thing down and for $50,000 or $60,000, you can get a new deck.
That's
It's always good, it's always good to get a second opinion.
Yeah. That's for that kind of thing.
So some fun new projects potentially on our radar come the fall.
Let Jen in, she just joined again.
Yep.
She must have dropped.
She is in the car.
Yeah.
Thank you for flagging that. Welcome back, Jen. Like we lost you.
Oh.
Jen, can you hear us? Just trying to confirm, because we lost you for a second.
Can you hear us,
Can
Jen?
you hear us, Jen?
Looks like she's got speaker problems.
Yeah, we'll give her a second.
I had Bluetooth problems. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Glad to see you managed to drive safe or not drive safe.
Yes. Yes.
What else do we have on here? There weren't too many other projects to really update in this, quite frankly, because we've got quite a bit, out of year one, so. Things are moving as part of our, evaluation process this year. I do want to make sure that we flag and follow up on every item that has been previously approved. To make sure, like we did last year, that we've been, where we managed to close out quite a significant number of holdover projects that were complete or not going to move forward. We need to make that a regular occurrence at the start of our project evaluation process, so that'll be ongoing. Any other project updates that anybody else has heard of in the group? I've shared everything I've got. All right. More for discussion at later dates. So let's move on. This is now dated correspondence, but it's been hanging out there for a couple of months. We received, item 4E, times statistics data shared by Representative Nuccia. She had forwarded along some recent profiles from Advanced CT for Wellington, Connecticut, and asked that the selectman's office and the selectman shared it with all of the chairs to distribute as background information on the demographics of Wellington. Some of this data is a couple of years dated as the most recent, and that's the way these things tend to run. But it was good, it is still a good reference and background. For where we stand on a number of things for age distribution. I think what's in there, it's been a number of months. Median home values and where things are, property rate in here, school assessment data is in here. So. It's one set of data points from one source, but good background knowledge to have, so. It has been shared. Comments, questions? Beautiful. All right. At long last, moving on, old business. 5A CIP Committee Annual Report. You have, over the past couple of months, gotten a few different progress drafts of this. I have not received many or any comments, quite frankly, directly. What you have in front of you is the latest complete draft, which we can have it discuss however you want, but ideally, I'd like to get to a point where we review, comment on this, and we need to push this out and kind of close the book officially on last year's budget season. I have shared the approved plan, the approved second referendum with development board and department heads for their reference. It will be attached, so the one you have in front of you will be attached, as it always is, to this report. But I wanted to make sure, it doesn't always happen this way, but I wanted to make sure that as it really is, or the plan itself is a product, is a work product of this committee, and your names are all on it as committee members. I wanted to make sure everybody had as much opportunity to review and provide any feedback or thoughts before we do a formal issue. Does anybody have a preference? I don't know if anybody has comments directly, or if you just want to kind of go through and review this section by section. You guys tell me. Looking for your feedback.
I wonder if it would be helpful if you wanted to, given the amount of work that you've put into the draft, I wonder if you want to direct our attention to specific things that you want feedback on. I know I used the word specifically twice, but you know what I mean.
I'll try to be specific.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so why don't we just run through and I'll give a brief summary where we're at. Most of this, just as an FYI, was a straight template pull from previous years for formatting. Where it's been rounded out, it's obviously been fine-tuned for the specific projects that we've captured in the plan that are current.
I guess that was
So-
my question. How much, like what
Yeah.
specific to this year? I know it's like probably a lot of just not cut and paste, but the same, like a template kind of thing. So
I wish it were cut and paste, but it's not, nothing.
Sorry.
We've really seen.
sorry.
No, it's all good. Let me just walk through it then. The introduction really hasn't changed, other than updates in years. Same thing, the purpose, that is more or less our charge, that has not changed. Methodology. Has some slight tweaks to it. Basically, clarifications on that last paragraph, and I gotta remember what they are. There was something, I think it was mostly just cleanup in that methodology paragraph. Just items that didn't quite read right or that were revised later in the report. The real change is the summary of project requests 2025-26 through 29-30. And the specific recommendations that immediately follow. That summary of projects is really customized, specific to our discussions this year. It highlights each individual departments, it summarizes each individual department's requests at a high level. And what I've done is I've added some, the real crux of this is that first page, or the first first couple of paragraphs on the summary project request.
Yeah.
You know, most of it is pulled from the prior, from letters that we've already voted and that are quite frankly up on our site. I did highlight, that statement mid-page is the opinion of the Capital Improvement Program Committee that the currently budgeted level of transfer to the town's capital reserve fund is an unsustainable level of funding to maintain the town's infrastructure, buildings and equipment to prepare for the imminently pending large capital expenditures over the years ahead. That is essentially our charge, right? Is to try to plot a plan, or recommend a plan to the town, to the board of selectmen, and board of finance. That maintains the town's infrastructure in as cost-effective manner as possible. Obviously. Our recommendations were reduced at town meeting and by the board of selectmen and the board of finance this year. We'll adjust in following years, but that was a lot of the crux of our discussion over the development of this project, how much. How to prepare for future need and to build reserve, et cetera, rather than rely on long-term debt and financing. So. That is kind of highlighted here. Or spelled out here as a summary of our discussions and the evaluation and methodology that I tried to capture. Throughout our project evaluation process. The rest of that is just kind of a summary of the projects that we captured and the years that they're in. And the recommendations for fiscal year 25-26. On page 6 of the document is just the summary of those of the projects that are hitting the general fund or that are funded by other projects that we carried in year 1. That became part of the capital budget. Same thing as we do every year, I've just updated it for the projects. Minor tweaks and cleanup to the last 3 pages, which are all appendices and guidelines on the approval procedure. No real change there. The bulk of the work was just that summary.
So if I may be so bold to make a comment, I pretty much love that you said that in the summary, the thing about not being sustainable. I just wonder if we should do something additionally to say we believe, like, I'm just going to paraphrase, but something to the effect that we believe that the current level, the thing that you already said, but what we are trying to do about it. And I don't even really know how to write that because we have such limited, I don't even want to say power because we have none, but like limited ability to affect change. We can recommend and, but I don't want it to just, I'm just concerned that it just says that and then there's no follow-up. But then I don't know what the follow-up can be.
Well, I mean, so prior to that in this section, you know, it describes the primary goals of the committee, maintaining a long-term strategy of building gradually towards the level of funding required. Trying to avoid significant single-year swings. And then following up.
So I
Yeah,
wonder if we can just say we as a committee will continue to strategize about ways to make saving a priority or something like that. And I'm also glad that you had added in there that we are looking past 5 years. I think that's really, to me, that's really important.
Yeah, I rolled in some of that. There's a brief mention of the facility manager position being recommended.
Yeah, I saw that. It's great.
Fact that we want to start addressing inflation and escalation more meaningfully in the plan. Where it's not captured by individual project requests. That is. That's a whole world and discussion that we didn't close the book on, or we didn't really, we started to approach it. There is a more in-depth process that we need to come to as a committee to try to figure out what we want to do related to that as we address the plan for next year. In an ideal world, these projects are, any major projects are being submitted with, you know, some degree of escalation. The problem becomes when we don't have the funding to fund projects when they are anticipated and needed, and they get pushed out 5 years, that changes the value dramatically, and there's really no way for the submitting departments to be able to plan for that, because they're at the mercy of when the town decides to try to fund the project. So there's a balance we need to find. This summary just mentions that we're trying, that we're working towards getting there. It also mentions that ARPA is dried up and it's no longer a funding source, so. So let me think how we integrate that sentence, John. If you trust me I think it's gonna immediately follow that bolded line. Basically, something as we as a committee will continue to strategize and work with, other relevant, the board of selectmen.
I'm totally fine with you playing around with it. I just, yep.
Yeah, with all
Something like
I'm not gonna write on the fly because I don't do it well. So, but I will I'll make a note to add a sentence there, Jen.
Okay. Otherwise,
Any other-
perfection.
Oh, thank you.
It's one thing I thought of, and it may be in here somewhere, but, in terms of the process that we know, but I think a lot of the townspeople don't, that we are an advisory committee to the Board of Selectmen, who then has to approve it and then send it to the Board of Finance for approval, which then goes to, I believe, the town meeting, and ultimately a town referendum for approval. We're just the first link of the chain, and we, as Jen mentioned, don't have any authority other than the recommendation to start with to do any changes or to, after it's been approved, you know, to throw more money at it or whatever, that's part of financing typically. We're the first step in the chain, is an advisory report to the selectmen.
Yeah.
And there's many other steps that people put their fingers into sometimes. And as they're authorized to do so. So we're not the ultimate authority for saying this is what it is. It gets approved by several town committees and then ultimately the townspeople.
We do have page 8 of the report, give a summary of the program approval procedure and the role of the various boards in town. It does speak to some of that. Meaning the boards, it starts actually with the board submitting projects to the town, making the committee aware of projects, and then we do our work in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen. Or on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to make those recommendations. I mean, do you think it warrants, or are you suggesting perhaps, you know? There needs to be language somewhere in that summary time, we are specifically noting that.
Well, it was part of our discussion.
Yeah.
Between various town boards this year, you know, you can't do that, or you can't take a project out, yes, you can. Well, no, you already submitted it, you know, now it's a selectman in their purview to do, and so on and so on, so I just wanted to be clear for everybody. And we knew of it, but learned the hard way a little bit of, the extensive discussions of who has authority, who doesn't, and near as I know by the, scope of the committee, our committee, we make a plan as best we can based on the information we have.
Yep.
And pass it along from there. There's many steps involved with this. I know there's usually a few people that come out of the woodwork towards the end of, I didn't know anything about this, and you know, how dare you, and you know, I want to change it. And discussion's obviously been going on for 5 or 6 months at that point of what's on the plan.
Just so I'm understand, do you feel like there's a need to add language somewhere in here to address that? We have some. Like I said, we have the appendix, the methodology section.
that should be in the methodology section, right?
Yeah.
That's where I went first.
Yeah, the methodology is kind of like the overall scope of what we do and how we arrive at what we, our end product is.
Be in that. Paragraph on purpose,
I honestly, I think,
it's hard to.
I think there's opportunity for an additional paragraph at the, following it, right, within the methodology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
either
should be
separate
saying
or
that,
part of that, take your pick.
Yeah,
Just so people know what the mechanics are of, you know, what we create and then.
How it comes to us and then how we distribute the information.
Oh, I'm talking to myself. I was muted, sorry. There's a little mention of it under purpose, but it's not specific as far as what Stuart was talking about.
I mean, I think that defines what we do, but people don't know what the rest of the process is. And I think it's worth mentioning here, because I don't think you'd see it anywhere else. But
yeah, not succinctly, there is a little bit of that kind of scattered. But I think I can speak to it.
yeah, for you, we're using just like 5 bullet points is, you know.
Yeah.
CIP committee and makes recommendation to selectmen can modify and or approve that, and then it goes to board of finance, and
Yeah.
just a few steps there, to let everybody know that they do have opportunities to comment and maybe they make your own instrument.
Suggestion. I had 2 items I wanted to ask you guys, just because they bugged me drafting this. So. Does anybody have a strong opinion one way or the other on how we delineate our fiscal years? Because this honestly was a little bit of a poll. We tend to express fiscal years differently depending on the fiscal year 2025/26. It's fiscal year 26. I think a lot of that is to provide clarity to people in town that may be reading this and aren't familiar, that's saying fiscal year 2026 spans, like it's the year that ends.
I always preferred the 2 years
Okay,
listed,
Yes.
in there.
Because then you know it's the end of 26 the end of 25 going into 26 is 25/26.
Yeah, so just FY 25-26 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, it would be clear.
how do we feel about that online?
I concur.
Okay, I will make sure to do a final pass on this and just kind of capture that consistently. I have a tendency to abbreviate and just go with the single. And I'm sure I did that in the project summary, so I will make sure I update
Yeah,
those.
I can see it.
And, you know, for somebody that's involved with municipal finance and being the finance officer, people that
How they-
committees, then they know, but because I'm a site person as well, I don't, you don't put 25/26 and you say 26 on it. Is that 26/27 or is it 25/26?
Yeah, and I think that's probably why we capture it that way, and you capture it that way in spreadsheet itself.
Mhm.
And then confuse it with year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and further layer. I don't know whether we confuse it or whether it helps, hopefully it helps. But I will do a final scrub on this just to make sure that that we capture it consistently, or as consistently as we're able. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve with comments noted, but I wanna make sure we've got on everybody.
I can make a motion with, to approve with the comments that was discussed.
Do we have a second?
Second. I wonder if that needs to be more specific, though, the draft. Do you think that needs to be more specific?
Can't hurt on the amendment to, I make a motion that we, you wanna, I don't want to phrase this before approve the capital.
Is there a deadline to get this submitted, like, is it being printed at the town report or anything like that?
No, I mean, they're all hosted on the CIP's website. And I'll distribute it to similar to what we did with what I did with the actual plan itself. I'll be attached to this, I'll distribute it to the department heads so that they're aware that it's on the site, or that it's been published. There's no critical timetable to it other than before we start seriously discussing, we're already in September. Because we haven't had every month, so.
So I think if we just read the cover, like move to approve the cover, like capital, just literally read the cover of it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree. I'm just trying to, the process moving forward. We have a motion and seconded. You want to maybe do something best night to just withdraw it?
Yeah, I can,
We have the meeting October 8th.
that's what I was just.
You wanna just bring it back?
I was gonna say, yeah, I'll withdraw my motion and if we can,
Yeah.
revisit it October 8th or October 8th, right?
I'm
trying to find my schedule.
Wait, what's happening? Why are we revisiting?
Well,
that's.
if you wanna see the revisions that the chairman's gonna make.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant the motion should be more specific.
Gotcha. You wanna make the motion? He's withdrawn his motion. Do you wanna make a
You
motion?
gotta, yeah, you gotta. do
Well,
it.
I don't want to steal Jeremy's motion.
No, you're good. Don't worry about me.
Well, fine, I'm just gonna make a motion and, I move that we approve the capital improvement program draft as written with the comments that, folks made tonight. The draft plan 25-26 through 29-30.
I second.
You. Liz McCann seconded. Any further discussion? I'm just gonna note before we take this vote that, looks like we lost Christina online and
That's it.
that's it. So I don't know what time she dropped off. I didn't catch it. So it's just the six of us. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Peter, I didn't hear you. Peter, are you able to come off mute? All right, all those opposed? Abstentions? All right, that's 5. I'm gonna do a roll call on this just for good measure because we didn't get Peter. Melissa McKinnon,
Aye.
Jen McHugh,
Yes.
myself, I'm a yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let's do it.
All right, Stu and Jeremy are yes. Peter, one last try, otherwise it'll just be a technical issue. Going once, going twice. All right. So. All right, thank you, everybody. Good discussion. I will make those changes. I want to get this out. I want to get this distributed so that people have it before they start getting into budgetary melee, chaos, whatever the appropriate term may be. Next item on the list, almost last item, joint meeting requests, comprehensive town planning. So, on the heels of the joint meeting we just had on, as arranged by the Board of Ed, which was a really good joint discussion specific to that school project. We've had requests in since we talked about this last for a number of months. I have not gotten a response from the selectman's office. Not a response, not a comment. I brought it up in a couple of their meetings, noting that the requests were in. Present to speak, and it hasn't gone anywhere. So I'm open to your thoughts on how best to proceed, whether it's worth pursuing, if suggestions on, yeah, I don't know if it's gonna get anywhere. I think it's definitely a discussion we should be having as a community, and that the board's in question to speak to how we plan to make inroads on what is a year-over-year growing need.
Would that be something to get CIP as an agenda item on Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed as an ongoing discussion, interaction, or whatever that, I know we have representatives that are on, Board of Ed, Board of Finance, if that's the conduit, that's fine, but I would certainly want
Yeah, it's,
them to be aware of the challenges that,
yeah,
we get.
so I will say it's not from lack of communication coming from the committee. I endeavored personally to, get on their agendas near the start of this, the end of this budget season. There is in my mind, there's a benefit to getting everybody talking together rather than similar to how the joint meeting went for the school, right? Everybody was able to speak in real time instead of waiting for one meeting. And there is a component to that that's really only gonna be fleshed out meaningfully if we all are continuing in the spirit of camaraderie and working together, which is really what this, I think, is trying to drive at.
Maybe that's how we do it, Jim, is, I think using that momentum to re-invite people to meet and talk about a path forward. I think one of the problems that we face is meeting fatigue, because all of the people are on all of the boards and no one wants one more meeting. So, like, referencing some kind of positive, Willington forward capture of what happened at the Hall School Library meeting the other night, and saying, can we make this happen for budget season as well, or something like that. So then it becomes like, we already did it once, maybe we could do it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not trying to be cynical or anything, but there's possibly going to be new members of committees coming up soon as well. So even if we take a bite at the apple this time and don't get anywhere, we might have another opportunity at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be as persistent, or not necessarily persistent, but I'm happy to continue to follow up. To try to advance this, but there,
But ideally, there'd be some discussion before busy season, so to speak, not just after.
and that's what
Yeah.
we're trying, why the request came in, because we're already gonna get into it pretty soon. So. Let me, so I'm also trying to be respectful of the fact that we are an advisory committee to the Board of Selectmen, so they need to have the buy-in about, partaking in the drinking, because ultimately, we're here to advise them as the body that is probably the most informed about this aspect of the town budget.
We may have to wait till after the municipal election to.
Yeah, I know, we're in that, I was hoping to get out ahead of that, and
Yeah.
at least, have an interesting discussion. But I suspect you're right, and that will be the Christmas. I will make one additional step at outreach to the Board of Selectmen, saying, hey, per Jen's suggestion, and follow up to the successful joint meeting. And if it doesn't fall into place, I do think it's something we should probably try to entertain. Or try to push for in, say, January, or really like at the start. Because we can have all of these interviews in January, we're gonna get to the same stage again when we're releasing the plan to the Board of Selectmen, and. If the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance have dramatically different interpretations. Yeah, we're gonna be where we are again.
Yeah. We would hate to go down one path of what we think is right and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, oh no, that's not, we haven't lined it all from these other committees and. Then you kind of, most of what you've done is for nothing.
So. So I'll at least promise to do that. I will try to make an additional outreach to the Board of Selectmen to suggest that we carry on this, given the critical nature of where these large projects are going to do, these large capital projects are gonna do.
Maybe we need to invite Tammy Nuccio or Jeff Gordon. I was mostly kidding, but
I was trying to determine whether you were or not, and
yeah,
it was.
I was mostly kidding. Though that seems to fill the room, so.
No, I know, unfortunately, the reality is it's not something that's, as was the case, we have to determine, the town has to determine its own financial policies and practice, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll try. All right, next up, that's it for our business. Next up is present to speak. There is still nobody in the room. Going online, Ralph, you're the only one online. If there's anything you'd like to say, feel free, now's your time. Otherwise,
I think I offered my input where it was appropriate.
much appreciated, sir.
Well, glad I can help.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Bye.
Peter? Peter is out with technical issues. I'm gonna call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you for your patience.
Bye, thank you, Jen.
Always pass.
I'm Melissa. Yep, we gotta get the right.